All right, y'all. So we are back with another tweet inspired video. And this is, of course, for all of my Scorpios, my eighth house placements, and really anyone who resonates with this. And we're talking about how forgiveness has been taught to us as a way to weaken the people. And I did a little deep dive, a little exploration when talking to people about this topic because we've all, at least I feel like most people have been through a situation where they just either felt betrayed by somebody or just felt like something that a person did to them it's just not forgivable. And we've been taught, of course, through religion and, literally just going to church and hearing like forgive 70 times 7 times. I believe that's kind of what I heard. And just talking about how that is the right way, the righteous way, the way to peace if you forgive people for what they've done because humans make mistakes. And while I do believe that is true, we all can make little innocent mistakes, but at the same time, there are people out here who are purposely and intentionally doing things that like are very vindictive and like they knowingly are hurting people, manipulating them in any way, shape, or form or fashion. And I did a quick video on this on Instagram and TikTok, but I wanted to kind of give like a longer, of course, explanation because I'm a yapper. Um, about this topic because again, I do believe that, people just have been told like you have to forgive people, in order to find peace. Somebody had told me today on Twitter, like, well, forgiveness is how your soul heals. And I'm like, somebody can make complete peace when they do not forgive somebody. And I'll explain in a second. But again, the idea that if you, tell somebody like it's okay for what you did, no matter how angry or upset it made you, and even when you think about it again, like you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe them. Then just like kind of being told to like brush it off. No. And as somebody with scorpionic energy, if you're a millennial in general, you are born under Pluto and Scorpio. So you could have dealt with these type of situations, again, where it comes to any kind of betrayal or just something that you don't think is forgivable. And so talking about that, just think right now of a time of a moment where that has happened to you, where you're like, how vile of this person to do this. Or are you in a situation where you don't feel like you could forgive somebody for what they've done to you? I kind of mentioned to when on Twitter that anybody who's born with like scorpionic placements probably will go through a situation in life where they feel like, you know, done wrong. I'll say that, whether it was somebody lying to you or just intentionally doing something to you that just like, you know, even in the workplace, people who tattle on you, people who get you fired, people who I mean, you see all kind of situations, people stealing other people's man or woman. People could feel like that's an act of betrayal or something that's not forgivable. I mean, you go on TikTok and you're hearing all kind of stories, okay? Sometimes I'll listen to a story, a situation, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like who would even do that? But again, that's just understanding. When you understand energy, you understand the why and why people have to do that. Now, again, I do believe that, kind of touching on my video yesterday about frequency versus morality kind of ties into forgiveness because you are taught that, if you want to be morally right and morally just, you go around, you forgive people, you just become this peacemaker. And when you learn yourself, you're like, I'm not like that. I don't walk around like that. I believe in revenge. I believe in, an eye for an eye. I don't believe people should, be soft about things. I don't believe that people should um get disrespected and then turn around and say, "Oh, I forgive you for calling me whatever name." That's just not a thing. I mean, I've seen family betrayal. I've seen and heard all kind of, I mean, you see it on television every day. You just see the reality of what is and where of course I think this came from was again through the church. When you are somebody who has been taught to don't say anything, don't rile people up, close your mouth, keep the peace, and inside you are fuming, you are boiling, you're like, no, like I need to say something. That I feel like again is a form of weakness because the people who truly, truly have this knowledge or control, like they like look around, look on the news, look what is happening. The people who are more forceful or more angry or whatever, like they seem to be, of course, the stronger ones, people who open up their mouth, people who are like, no, you're not going to do that to me and think you're going to get away with it. I've always tell people like everyone is here to teach somebody a lesson. There are talks of like, oh, people spend too much time trying to be people's karma. And but when you understand, of course, what karma is and what role you are playing essentially in this life, you are aligning with your frequency if you are somebody who does not feel like they need to forgive, if this makes sense. So if you are, again, somebody with scorpionic energy, you could be somebody who's like, I'm going to get them back. I'm going to get revenge. Like to you, that would make, you would have more peace that way. That if an eye for an eye, like people are okay with that. I kind of mentioned in my video yesterday that there are people out here who are playing the role of bad. That's their being, that is their frequency, that's the role that they are playing. So they're not going to get to a place where they are all peaceful and all like pleasant because that's again, that's not reality. Both types of people and energies have to exist. So to this idea that everyone will have this like energy about themselves, again, look around, look at what is reality. I mean, you can hear stories about from people all the time. This is like, I don't forgive them. Like I haven't talked to them in 30 years. And again, at the same time, I kind of again touched on this on Twitter, like when people make peace with the fact that they will not forgive somebody, I say you can actually move into harmony that way. And what I mean by that is that if you, again, felt like a family member that did you wrong or a friend or whoever relationship, like you make peace with that fact that I'm never going to speak to them again. Now you are no longer in their vibration. Now you are no longer having to fight and scream and yell on the phone and whatever because you're trying to make peace, but you cannot make peace with people who are on two different, again, frequencies. And so, again, you moving into harmony when you align with yourself. I believe that I do not have to forgive. Okay, well, I don't have to speak to this person anymore. Okay, I'm moving on with my life. Okay, like everything's all good. But if you were told, go, don't be like that, go forgive them, go give them a hug, go, whatever the case is. Then now you're putting yourself back into an uncomfortable environment. Now you don't like you, it feels awkward, it feels tense. Like you have to put on a show, you have to be fake. Again, disharmony. So when you kind of look at it like that, you can understand like this is a conditioning. It's not reality. It's kind of the same thing with diet and exercise. You cannot blanket one thing, one behavior, one way about anything for an entire population of people. It's the same thing with religious conditioning when it comes to marriage or children or the order that people feel like you should go. But when you learn astrology, you understand birth charts, you understand people, you learn that everyone is not aligned the same. So to think that everyone will have the same thought process when it comes to forgiveness, that's not reality. Okay, it's not reality. And the person then the tweet mentioned that, people use it as a form of manipulation or coercion. Like, you are okay, we're back in good hands, because they have to be like this towards me. Like they'll never suspect me doing anything ever again. It is a form of manipulation. If you think somebody forgives you, now you think they're going to start being nicer to you, or again, they probably won't think that you're going to do it again. So you're manipulating them back into the situation, or somebody could manipulate you back into the situation. So, like I said, I've astrology has helped me undo religious, like, rules and the structure. And it's not about not believing in a creator or God or a higher power. It's the rules, religion or church, like they made rules that like people know that that wasn't a thing, but it's like, okay, how can I control somebody? It's the same thing with parenting. It's the same thing with you. You run in a classroom, you're running the job that you're at. Like, if you make a set of rules, people will have to abide by them because they value their job. They value their paycheck. They value, so most of the time people are going to fall in order. We saw this in 2020. People are going to fall in line because they are at fear of going somewhere, telling you you're going to hell. If you don't follow these rules, you're going to hell. And the way that you control people is through fear. I'm gonna make you fear me enough to do what I want you to do. So I'm gonna force you to go forgive that person or else what XYZ, whatever the consequences are. But again, when you move into your frequency, you move into your alignment, when you move into like, no, this is what makes me feel best. That's when you know, like, this is like, why did they make this up? Like, this is not a thing because it doesn't apply to everybody. You cannot blanket anything, honestly, for a group of people. Now, again, I mentioned before, like, people make mistakes, honest mistakes, like, where in the moment it kind of like makes you mad. But when you like kind of zoom out and you understand like the bigger picture, you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't that big of a deal. And that wasn't intentional. There's a difference between something being intentional and not. Like, it's kind of like you have I was kind of thinking about this earlier because I've seen TikToks about this, like gender reveals, and then somebody kind of like spills it before the other people know, or whatever it is. You could have a little kid say it. That's something that's forgivable. It's like, okay, but if you purposely and intentionally knew and you go and email everyone who was coming to the party and told them beforehand and you intentionally ruined the surprise, like that's a little bit different. And people kind of take that a little bit different. But again, just to kind of touch on that, because I had people replying to my TikTok like, I'm a person that doesn't forget. I'm a person that doesn't forgive. Now, some people, again, they do believe in that, and maybe that fits better for them. But to tell somebody that they're wrong for not wanting to make up with someone or not wanting to bring up the situation again, like that gives them peace. So you have to learn that. You have to understand that, like that brings them peace. Why would you want to disrupt the peace? You're actually making it worse. You're making it worse by telling them to do something they don't want to do. Like you think you are making it better, but really you're making it worse. Imagine like you were finally like somebody's out of your mind, out of your head, or whatever the situation was, and then somebody just randomly brings it up because you haven't done what they wanted you to do. So. I know I don't know how long I've been talking. I think like 15 minutes. I don't know. But just wanted to touch on that because again, as somebody with scorpionic energy, people out here just are just like doing, and it doesn't have to be anything major. It could just be like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some situations where, stuff is like it's not that crazy, but it's like a not forgivable thing. Um, but again, like I said, people have gone through those situations. Um, you just move around. You can hold that in your heart. It doesn't mean you're automatically going to have some like your soul's not at peace. You're like, no, I literally am at peace. Like I'm good here. It's kind of like what I talk to my clients about, the ones who don't like care to live close to family. Now we have been conditioned to believe that everyone in our family is good, and because we're family, we have to, or blood or whatever related, that we have to treat them a certain way or better, or that's your blood or whatever. That's not a thing. Some people feel closer to their friends, some people feel closer to their coworkers. And so people who choose to live far away from their family, it brings them peace. Why would you want to disrupt the peace by bringing people together who don't want to be together? Just because they are connected bloodline likewise doesn't mean their energy is. Everybody got somebody in their family who you're like, I don't think we're related, but you probably are, or you are. So you cannot blanket, like I said, terms and things for people. It's not reality to say that an entire race or entire group of people has to do this one thing, and if they don't, like somehow they're doing it wrong, whatever it is. It's not reality. So, anyways, y'all, I just wanted to ramble today because, I just had that on my mind. I just don't, I just don't think that that is a true, real concept for everybody to abide by. But of course, looking at astrology, looking at birth charts, I understand why people are the way that they are, and you can't make them one way or another just because you're like that. So, if you would, of course, like to do an in-depth analysis with me and your birth chart, I would totally love to, be nosy and look at it. But you can go ahead and go to my website, book a session with me, and if not, you can go to all of my social media platforms. Like I'm on everything. And if you subscribe to my Patreon, then I do personal one-on-one videos where I talk to you personally one-on-one and then ask you, what do you want me to talk about? And I won't post it anywhere else on any other of my platforms. So thank you all so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon.